A little late, and I'm trying to get in to meet George De Benedicty from Pegasus Realty and Associates. This is the Golden Ocala Country Club. Oh my God, really posh. I'm here with today George De Benedicty from Pegasus and Lena also at Pegasus, and I'm going to go ahead and ask a number of questions which I think are super pertinent to people who are in the horse industry, who are coming down to Ocala. So last time we discussed about the one thing that you've done. You bought the farm, and now where do we go from having bought the farm, right? Because it's going to cost a lot of money. So I'm going to hand it over to George. Thank you so much, George. Thank you, Lena.
You're welcome.
I'm going to get behind the camera.
Thank you, Red. Well, there's many ways to make money with a horse farm. Obviously, you can do a breeding operation. You can do a training or racing operation, or you can do hunters and jumpers. So there's many different ways. In my opinion, right now, in today's world that we live in, the hunter jumpers have really taken over in Marion County with the rise of the World Equestrian Center, and it is the business to be in, hunter jumpers and dressage. The way you make money in this day of age is just simply renting out stalls on your property if you have enough, and you need a ring for that, but also if you're a trainer, obviously you have some affiliation to horses when you come buy a horse property. So if you're a trainer, you can obviously give lessons, but more than that, you can board the horses, and I've done those for years on thoroughbreds, which is not that lucrative because you can only charge maybe $600 to $800 a month. But on the hunter jumper side of things and the dressage side of things, you can charge about $3,000 per month per horse. So when you're getting that kind of income on say 10 stalls, that's substantial. And obviously you have to feed those horses, you have to hire people to care for the horses, and maybe hire a trainer if you yourself are not a trainer. But those are things that I would recommend someone getting into it doing. The other angle is investing in a thing called pin hooking, which is a big business today in Marion County, and that's involving thoroughbred racehorses. And literally, if you get in with the right people, you don't have to know a thing about it, just invest some money. I'll give you an example. I had years ago invested in, and of course I've been in that business, but I've invested with the group. We bought a yearling for $160,000 and sold it 6 months later for $725,000. So that's making some great money.
Wow. So even you just take the basic lesson structure, a lot of people want to teach lessons and things like that. There's so many people here, there's so many trainers here.
Yes.
And lessons fluctuate from, $50 to $350.
Yeah.
I mean, is there real money in something like this for these trainers?
There is, if there's a volume. There are people like Emil Spidone, who you're familiar with, who has made it very big. But the real money in his business is not in teaching or training, even though they do that. It's in selling horses. And what they do is they buy horses, import them mostly from Germany or Europe somewhere, Holland, Sweden, wherever they come from. And they try to buy the horses in the average of say $30,000, $40,000 in Europe, bring them here, train them and show them, and then once they show them, the buyers will come along and see the horses and buy them for 2, 3, 4 times the price.
Yeah, that's that I've definitely noticed, and
Right.
it certainly, one has a look at that and you think, well, these horses are coming in for 30, 40, maybe 60, and then that they're being sold for 150, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Over a period of maybe 4 months. It's
exactly. That's a really good angle. Go ahead.
Now, what percentage of buyers actually kind of break even on a property? And where I'm going with this is that, let's say you've bought the property and you suddenly realize that you're going to have to spend anything from 15,000 to let's say 40 or 50,000 a year just in maintaining the property. You've got weeding, you've got grass mowing, you've got fence work, barn work, store work. Do people take that into consideration?
Absolutely. And also, when you buy a farm today in Marion County, unless you buy a brand new one, you're going to have to put some serious money into it to improve it to your standards or how you want it, because a lot of them are older. It could be 20, 25 years old. Just this weekend, we sold a property on 225A, which is the premier road of Ocala, and $1.4 million farm for, say, 14 acres with some old buildings. It's going to need at least $500,000 invested in it before they get to the point where they're going to be happy with it.
So you get to the point also when you think that you bought the property for X. Every single year you're pumping in anything from $15,000 to $50,000. You add that up over 10 years, that all adds up, and then you're certainly hoping that the land's going to appreciate.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
There's two things that happen there, Roger, in that respect. One is that it's a great write-off. We all know that the horse business is a business. Therefore, your wins or losses in that business, your cash flow, if it's a loss, you can deduct it. If it's a win, you will pay taxes on it. And the law says, the IRS says that over every 7 years, you must make a profit in 2 years out of 7. So if you do in fact do that, you can take some large losses year after year for 5 years, which is totally deductible from your personal income as an expense. So that's what people use that angle to obviously help with the cash flow.
We discussed 3 markets, Wellington, Ocala, and Kentucky. And you being an experienced realtor, what would you feel would be the best for someone starting out, in the horse world, buying the property?
Well, I think it's, again, back to the same old location. It's very important where you are in the vicinity of the WEC, the World Equestrian Center, Golden Ocala, and all those, high end attractions that we have. So if you're close to those, you are going to, chances are, pay a good price in today's world, but still you have a big chance to have a good increase in the long run. So, and that's what people have been actually doing, is now that the WEC is here and prices have gone up drastically, in some cases 3 to 4 times, people make the money on selling the property and then buy something else and develop that. So there is a way to make money. I have for years and years made money with horse-type properties, where we buy it, we improve it, or just hold it 2 or 3 years and resell it.
So initially, looking at this whole thing, we started off as Kentucky being one of the cheaper areas,
Right.
And obviously Ocala one of the cheaper areas, and then Wellington the most expensive. Now all of a sudden, well, Wellington's always been the most expensive. Ocala has 8 times its value over the last sort of 2 years,
Right.
and Kentucky's kind of falling behind. Do you think Kentucky would ever catch up to all of this?
Not to the extent that we have pricing here, because Kentucky is a larger area and it's horse breeding. And while they can make a lot of money with a good, well-bred thoroughbred yearling or older horse even, it's a situation where it's an expensive thing. I've done breeding for 30 plus years, 40 years actually. And horse breeding is not a money maker. Horse breeding is a fun thing. You see the babies out there, you enjoy them. Chances are you're not gonna make a lot of money. You could if you get really lucky, but really as a rule, the breeders don't make money. And the big breeders like Live Oak Stud or any other huge farm, chances are they use it as a write-off, and they do. And they write off millions of dollars a year off their huge income that they have in something else.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Lena, you being a realtor with Pegasus, what are your thoughts on everything that's been talked about so far?
I'm going to have to agree with George. I think we were just talking about this earlier. I think we're in one of the luckiest areas in the United States as it relates to land value, sales, and the horse business. It is a business. When people pay that kind of money for a horse, that's not a hobby, that's a business. So they have to own the land, and they have to have the upkeep and the ways and means to continue that in order to support that business. And we're in the premier spot. We still have some land and farms that are really, really good bargains, buys, and we're going to continue to appreciate in value. And we are Ocala, the horse capital of the world, and I'm very happy to be here.
Let's take a situation where you have somebody who's coming into it. They're fond of horses. They've always wanted to get into it. We talked about the mid-tier property, in that sort of 400 to 600, 700,000, range, and then we have that more higher tier property, which is 1.2, 1.3 million. Now, what advice could you give people? I know, yes, you can overextend yourself or underextend yourself, but with the opportunity and the way horses are going these days, because it seems to me that everything in the horse world is getting way expensive, and people can justify and they can't justify.
What I see is that there's a large influx, as Lena will tell you and agree, of the South Florida people, mostly from Wellington, horse people already established, have been in that. But the farms and land in that area is at least triple to 4 times and sometimes much more price. So if they sold something in that area, they will come with serious money to Ocala, and when they buy something here, whether it be $1 million or 3 or 4 million, it will be a good deal for them, because they will get a lot for their money here, a lot more than they do in Wellington, right? So, but unfortunately, when you get to talk about 500 to say $1 million area, in these markets that we're in today, there's not that much out there now that you can buy, unless it's a smaller place, maybe 3-4 acres, which is all right, and you can operate on that for a jumping facility. And it's close to WAC, then it's really going to be valuable even at that low acreage. But to buy some bigger property, it's going to cost a lot more, in the millions in Ocala. While in Kentucky, you could still buy a 200-acre farm. I don't know exactly lately, I haven't checked the prices, but for 3-4 million,
Yep.
right? And you can't really buy that here. It's more like double that, yeah? Am I right?
I would
Yeah.
agree, yeah. Being from
So-
Kentucky and George having
Yeah.
been in the thoroughbred industry,
Yeah.
knowing those breeding farms,
Correct.
he's absolutely right.
Well, number one, we don't have the winters, and so all these big farms that have been established for many years are still here. They've been changed maybe somewhat as to what they're used for, and may not be doing that much rentals. But overall, the demand is very big for that 10 to 20 acre setup farms with the ring and a small house, big house. Doesn't have to be a huge house. But then again, there's some mansions on some properties, some huge properties, that are in the millions. So it's a hard one to answer, but I do say that Ocala in the long run, especially being in Florida, Central Florida, where we are, is going to be a better investment than even in Kentucky at the moment. As much as the other side of that is that Kentucky breeding and racing is very lucrative for thoroughbreds. Not so much for the jumpers, but for thoroughbred racehorses, it's the place to be. So it depends on what you're doing.
It seems to me that the racing industry down here in Ocala is kind of starting to diminish.
Right. I came here in 1981, and at that time all we had is huge farms, 500 to 3,000 acres, Tartan Farm, Mockingbird Farm, all these famous farms that were just major breeders in the United States and overseas even. And those farms kind of went away because the Florida incentive for breeding a thoroughbred has gone away. We don't really know why, other than the fact that there's been fights with casinos between the Indian nations and the casino owners who have affiliation with the horse farm. While in Kentucky, they kept all the gambling, and in New York State, they keep all the gambling along with the racetracks, with the racetrack. So you must have a racetrack to have a casino, and the casino is really lucrative. So the casinos then fuel money back to the racetracks. That's how they offer these huge purses.
Going back to let's say issues that buyers consistently underestimate cost-wise on a farm, what would you say are the major things that they need to be very careful once they get into that farm?
It's really, it boils down to what you buy. You know, if you buy a farm that is set up and it's completely ready to operate on, it's going to be a better way to go than trying to build something and or buy an old one that you have to remodel, because the remodeling just kind of never ends, you know, on a farm. And so, but on a horse farm, you always got work to do, and you have to put that in as far as your expenses. So you do have capital investments to make always. You know, there's just no getting away from that, because fences break, you know, trees fall, grass, you know, all that. So there's just so much that can happen, you know, hurricanes, you know, all kinds of natural issues can happen. So those are things that you can't control, but it's expensive. You know, when in 2004, I believe it was, we had 2 hurricanes cross over Florida, and that's the only time in 40 plus years I'm here that we had that. But 2 hurricanes came within 10 days apart, and they both had crossed Florida with 50 to 80 mile per hour winds. And I was already living on my farm that I live on today, and my roof was torn off. Most of our horse fences were tore down. Many trees were taken down, so that was a huge expense. Well over, at that point, $100,000 of damage. So you got to be careful, you know, like I say, what you buy, and you're better off to buy a farm that is ready to go and operate.
These farm owners, I mean, how many of them break even? You know, do they in fact break even?
It depends on, again, we're talking about people that came here just, you know, with a lot of money, and or you're talking about people that are here to try to make money with the horse business and with their farm. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to make money on the horse farm. But on the other side of it is, if you get in the right business, and you guys probably heard about this whole thing, there was a big record sale this year in April at the Ocala Sale Company, OBS. Amazing. And it was a horse that sold for $10.5 million. The horse cost only $560,000. And they sold it 6 months later for $10.5 million. So there's the upside and the downside. Now those guys, they're good friends of mine, Hartley Lorenzo, they have been in the business for as long as almost I have, 30, 35 years. They're very experienced, they know how to pick out horses, and they have a great, very wealthy person who buys the horses with them, and of course they make the money. They've been very successful with that program. It's called pin hooking, is the name for it.
Right.
Buy and sell.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to add one thing, and that is that not every farm is bought to make money. Some farms are purchased for the sheer enjoyment of the land and their home, and maybe having a horse, or a pony, or a donkey. Some people raise ostrich.
Correct.
But not every farm is bought just for a business. It's bought to enjoy it, the location, the ambiance, and the environment of Ocala and Marion County. And I think one of the critical things I will add to that is it is really important that you have someone, when you are buying a farm and selecting land, that you have someone that's local and knows the nature of the industry.
Correct.
It's not an easy game. Let's face it. And you know, when things start to go wrong for those new farm owners and things, what advice can you give to these people straight away so that they don't get too buried in the thickness of all of this?
Well, one thing is that if the farm has grown in value and they're experiencing issues, then sell it and make the money on it, because in most cases they will make money if they buy it right. So that's one way out, certainly. Second way is to probably build more facilities so you can rent more and be able to get the cash flow. So there are many ways to do it. It's not easy. The small farm, when you say 10 to 20 acre, 30 acre properties, are the most difficult ones to operate for a profit. But it can be done. And besides that, just like Lena said, the pure enjoyment of waking up in the morning and looking out at your farm and your horses is quite a thrill.
I get it. I
It's
totally
quite a
get
thrill.
it.
And I still enjoy it after 45 years.
Yeah. Now, do you still ride?
I quit riding about 10 years ago or so, less than that maybe. And I was going to get into maybe quarter horse riding, but I never did that. So I did some jumpers in my younger days and dressage too. But I quit now riding. I just don't want to take a fall.
And Lena, how about you? Do you still ride?
I'm still riding.
That's right.
What do you specialize in?
I was a reiner, but I'm specializing in something now that's really caught on and really coming along nicely. It's called ranch riding.
In closing, is there some really good practical advice that you can, just give people as to be a mentor and, really advise people? It sounds like that the relationship that you have with your clients, people are back and forth with you all the time because you look after them. But what advice could you really give?
Buy the property that you like in the right area. Don't buy second or third, type areas. You don't want to necessarily invest money, 50 miles away from the center. Not that it's bad, it's going to be cheaper, but in the long run, you're not gonna succeed with that. So you need to buy properties in the right area. I've learned that the hard way myself. I've done some developing in Ocala, and when things turned bad, the properties that were further out did not succeed, and they were the ones that became a problem and cost money. So you have to be careful. But buying the right way is important. That's why we're here. We can steer these clients to the right area, right property, and tell them the pros and cons, and make sure that they make a good, sound investment. Once they do, they'll be set. It's in the buying of the property is where you're going to make your money.
Going back to the size of these horse shows now at Ocala and at Wellington, and obviously in Kentucky, there seems to be a huge influx of international people coming.
Right.
Do you see this in your everyday realty experiences here in Ocala?
Yes, and we have actually seen it even back in the days when the thoroughbreds were sort of the kings here. Lots of international buyers came, actually for us specifically even more than they come now. But they're coming, and they love the environment, they love Ocala. Keep in mind, and not to be negative about Wellington, it's a beautiful place too, but it's a flat area. A lot of that land was filled, so it's not like Ocala, and it floods pretty good in the time of the year that you have heavy rains. While Ocala is beautiful, it's got the scenery, it's got the hills, it's got the oak trees, which a lot of part of the country does not have. So there's so many attractions, and taxes are reasonable. We have no state income tax in Ocala. There's a lot of things you can do, and now there is industry too, which we did not have when I first started here.
That's true.
So that's
Can
a
you
big change.
add to that, Lena, the industry side of it?
Well, we do. We have an industry that we never had before, and it's
Right.
majorly developed from the CEP. So now we have Chewy, we have FedEx, we had Kraus, we have, I think Amazon. It's huge.
It's huge.
And those are offering jobs,
Yeah.
and they're hubs and facilities, and that industry then opens up another market, which is for the smaller home, the single family home and children. We have new schools coming in, new roads and developments to help offset the traffic that follows that development.
Right.
Anything else you'd like to add to this conversation, Lena?
I love Pegasus Realty and Associates. I
So
love
do I.
I love my job. And the one thing I would say, as George has hit everything right on the nailhead, so to speak, but primarily it is that when you buy a property, you do make money in that property if you buy it right, but you need to buy with someone who is seasoned, who knows the lay of the land, who knows about trees and fencing and every asset that comes with buying a farm or a home in Florida.
And after 45 years, I still love opening my door in the morning and enjoy the scenery. So it's a great place to live, and I would never change it for anywhere else.
And that's true. He loves his farm. He says that almost every day.
I do. We appreciate it, Roger.
I love to hear stories like this. I
Thank
really
you.
do. It's awesome.
It's fun.
Yeah. George, thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate it,
I
Roger.
really
As
appreciate
always, we get along great, and I appreciate you, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
We're excited to see it on the video.
You're more than welcome. And Lena, thanks.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so
All right.
much. It's
Thank
been
you.
great.
It was fun.
This is Horse Money Daily, where we tell you about the money behind the horse world, and we're going to be doing more realty, let's say, episodes in the future,
Right.
and we'll let you know. Thank you. Thank you for watching.